Hello, and welcome to Sometimes in Shambles. My name is Melissa, and this is my podcast. I am a little bit sick, so I don't really know how my voice is going to sound. But today's minisode is just going to be me answering some questions that I got about therapy/triggers. So my last minisode that I had was on therapy and triggers, so I recommend going and listening to that first, or whatever. Maybe you'll just learn some stuff from this episode. Okay, I am just going to hop right into the questions. So the first question that I got was, should I literally just Google therapists in my area? Yes, it's like just as simple as that. You just hop on Google when you're looking for a therapist and type in therapists in my area, therapists near me, therapists in Salt Lake City or wherever you are. That's what I searched, is therapists in Salt Lake City. Also, if you are maybe in an area that you don't think has many options or many therapists, it might be worth it to look a little farther if you are willing to travel. So I guess an example of that would be like where I'm from. It's a very small town. There's not, like, the closest big city around me is San Diego, which is 2 hours away from me, or like Palm Springs, which is like an hour and a half. This isn't where I currently live, but like where I grew up. So if I were still living there, I would kind of be worried that there's probably not a lot of good options in my area. So I would search therapists in Palm Springs or therapists in San Diego and see if there are like higher rated therapists in those areas and travel there. And another thing to keep in mind when looking for that, like maybe you don't want to travel that far, but I still think it's worth it. Like if you find one online that you really like, or you think that you're going to like, it might be worth it, like traveling 2 hours or an hour and a half or 45 minutes and just have that first session and see if you really like them. And then if you do like them, ask them about phone call sessions or Skype sessions. There are therapists that do that. I know that one of my sisters, when she was in Utah at school, up in Provo, she found a really good therapist. And then when she graduated, she moved to Southern Utah for a while, and she still had sessions every week on the phone with her therapist for like months or years. I don't know how long, but that is an option as well. So there's just like there's a bunch of different ways to go about that. But when you're getting started, just Google therapists. So the next question is, do I need to go through my primary doctor first? No, you do not. This is completely separate. You just Google it and get started on your own. You don't need to go through a psychiatrist or primary doctor or anything like that. And then, how long is therapy? Therapy sessions usually are about an hour, like 45 minutes to an hour. It just like depends on the therapist. My sessions are about 50 minutes. And then also I do sessions once a week. When I first started, my anxiety was super, super bad. And there were some weeks that I had sessions twice a week. It was just up to me. And my therapist kind of asked me. And if she didn't ask me, then I was like, can we meet another time this week? Because let's say I met on Monday and had a session, and then I knew something big that would potentially affect me would happen like on Wednesday. So then I would be like, can we meet on Thursday? And she'd be totally fine with that if she had an opening. And then therapy long-term is completely up to you. Therapy is not just I'll compare it to like physical therapy, because I'm in physical therapy right now. And with physical therapy, we take it week by week, and eventually I'll just stop going because I'll be better. But with therapy, you kind of just go for as long as you want. You can take a break. You can change therapists. You can just do whatever you want. It's not like you're cured. You don't need therapy anymore. Like I will most likely be in therapy my whole life. And like, maybe that doesn't mean every single week until I die, but I just think that I will continually be in therapy working on things. So yeah, long term, it's just like however you want. Short term, it's also up to you and like how bad or good your situation is at the moment. If you really, really, really are struggling, like right at the beginning, then I would suggest maybe going twice a week at first, or just more often. And then you could even go every other week. You could go once a month. Like, really just talk to your therapist about that. The next question, what if I don't like my therapist or they tell me something I don't want to hear? I kind of covered this in the first one. I think it's kind of a loaded question. Like, my therapist tells me things that I don't want to hear just because I'm not ready to accept those yet. And that's just part of the process. So like, she might tell me something and I'm like, oh, like, yeah, that's true, but I don't really like to hear that. It can be like really uncomfortable uncovering things from the past or dealing with like real issues. But that's completely different than them offending you or saying something that you ethically or morally don't agree with, or they make a joke that makes you feel uncomfortable in like a different kind of way. So it's like really just on you to kind of figure out what's making you uncomfortable and why. For one of my bad therapists, it was like 2 or 3 sessions of things that I didn't like before I decided to stop going to that person. So it was kind of like over time, I was like, like it's not really working for me. It wasn't just like one thing that they really said that offended me. But if they do all of a sudden say something that you don't like, that makes you not like that therapist anymore, it's okay to change. It's like a relationship. Again, just reiterating from the last minisode, like some people just fall out of being friends. Like over time, you might just need a new therapist and that one's not working for you anymore. So it's just a balance. Like, I don't think a therapist is going to like purposefully offend you. Your personalities just might clash, and that's okay. Okay, and then the last question that I got was, how long after starting therapy did you learn how to identify all your triggers? That's like also a loaded question because I already kind of knew my triggers before starting therapy, just because I was able to kind of just realize that I like doing certain things gave me anxiety and heightened it, and I didn't feel good doing certain things. In therapy, I will just be like talking through something with my therapist and I'll be like, I'm pretty sure this is a trigger and like this is a situation. And she's like, yeah, that's definitely a trigger. It didn't happen like we were talking about a situation and then my therapist was like, well, that's a trigger for you. I kind of already knew them myself and like told her about those, if that makes sense. So I can't really answer that question. But I will tell you, like, going back to one of the other questions, like it's not like, oh, after a month you should be able to identify all of your triggers. Like, it's just not, it doesn't work that way. I think you will always be discovering new triggers and finding new things that you don't like that make you upset. Like the selfish thing that I talked about, I didn't know that being called selfish was like, it wasn't a trigger for me until the fight with my mom. And then that event made people calling me selfish a trigger for me. So it's not like we're born with these triggers and we need to like go on a journey and find out what they are. It's just kind of like recognizing things that happened in the past that made you upset. And now whenever something similar to that situation happens, it triggers that emotion that you had the first time. And that's why it's a trigger for you, is because it's recalling like how you felt the first time that situation or that thing that's triggering you happened, if that makes sense. And then just a disclaimer again, after all of that I just said, I am not a therapist. I'm not classically trained in mental health or anything like that. So I don't know if what I'm saying is facts. That's just like, that's how it is for me. That's how I view it, and how I think about triggers. So those are the only questions that I got, which are all very, very good questions. I think that there's a lot of people that don't have experience with therapists or triggers, or like they just got diagnosed with mental health, or they are it's just recently affecting them, and it's all a new thing. So any question is a valid question. I will cover like another kind of question that I got is with like relationships and how to deal with, like, if you have a lot of anxiety and the person that you're dating has no experience with that, like how to deal with it. Like, again, I'm not great at relationships and I don't know the answer to this, but my best advice is just communication. Like, I just suggest asking questions on both of your ends and just helping them be aware of your triggers or what makes you anxious, or like why, like putting the reasoning behind it. And if you don't know the reason, then that's fine also, but just having a conversation of like, today I am not doing great mentally. I have been very stressed out, and so I might be anxious later. And this is what happened at work that kind of sparked it. And then they might not know how to respond to you. So a good thing for you to do, if you know, is to communicate that and say, what would help me on a day that I'm really stressed is you just being able to listen to me. Like, you don't have to say anything, just listen to me. Or I'm just throwing examples out. Like, I don't really know what I would say, but, or just saying like, I need you to just validate my feelings and let me know that it's okay that I'm feeling these things and I'm not crazy. Whatever it is that helps you, just let the other person know. And then the opposite of that also, let them know what doesn't help. If they are doing something that's making you more anxious or stressed out or makes you upset whenever you come to them with your feelings, just tell them that and be like, okay, when I come to you and tell you that I'm anxious, please don't tell me this thing because it makes me more anxious, or whatever it is. Just communicate to them. And then also ask them if they have any questions. Like, maybe they want to know more about like what it feels like for you to have anxiety, or like what that means to you, or I don't know, whatever it is. But just communication is huge. Because there are definitely people that don't know how to deal with it, and it could go in a direction you don't want it to go very quickly just from not communicating. So that's my advice on that, if you were wondering that. Again, I don't have that much experience with it because I usually bottle up all my feelings and don't really talk about it, which I don't suggest doing. So that was a very short episode, but I like it that way because it's Sunday night and I'm sick. But yeah, I think all of those were very, very good questions. If you have more questions, if something that I talked about on this episode sparked something for you, or you have questions about anything mental health related that you didn't get to ask me the first time, I'll do more of these answering questions episodes in the future if I get enough questions. And then also, next week, I will be recording another episode with Shannon, and we want to make sure that we are able to answer questions that you guys might have about those episodes. We do have a couple of questions that we're already going to be asking. So if you have any about the last 3 episodes that we have released about leaving the Mormon Church and the aftermath of that, then please reach out to us and let us know. We're going to do our best to answer those questions. And I'm really excited for the episode next week, but also very scared because it's vulnerable. But you guys will just have to wait to see it, to listen, I guess. So yeah, thank you for listening to this episode. I hope that I was able to clarify some things for some of you. And if you want to reach out to me, my email is sometimesinshambles@gmail.com. You can also submit a contact form, the contact form that's on my website, and my website is sometimesinshambles.podcast.com. My Instagram is at sometimesinshambles, and my Twitter is shamblespod, but I don't really ever tweet. So yeah, go and follow me on Instagram, and I'm still doing my April giveaway, so just mention me in your Instagram story or comment on one of my Instagram posts and you will be entered to win a t-shirt and some stickers. And yeah, that's it. Please reach out to me if you want to. You're not bothering me, and I really love helping people. So thank you, and have a good day, you guys. Bye. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Sometimes in Shambles. The intro music was done by my friend Lucas Cathy, and the artwork was done by me, myself, Melissa. If you liked this episode, please rate, review, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.